Hello, welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm Sherry Duckworth, and joining me today is Mr. Bill Lund. He is the CEO for Covenant Kids, and Miss Courtney. Say your last name for me, Courtney.
Majorana.
Majorana. Thank you for being here. We love talking about kids, and foster care and adoption is always something that is just a beautiful heart issue, I like to say, because it does strike the emotions. You know, there's so many kids out there who are loved or want to be loved, a lot of parents who have a lot of love to give. So talk to us a bit about why you both got started in this particular field of helping people out when it comes to foster care and adoption.
Well, thank you for having us, Sherry.
Appreciate
the opportunity to be here.
Appreciate it.
Well, Covenant Kids was originally founded by my wife Karen and I, and we've had a heart to serve children our whole lives, and Covenant Kids sort of grew out of that desire to make a difference in the lives of children, and there's an awful large need in our society today for parents and families to step up and make a difference in the lives of children. Right now in the state of Texas, there's over 15,000 children in foster care. Just here in the Dallas-Fort Worth region, we have almost 4,000 kids that are unable to live with their biological families. So we're constantly in need of new families to step up and make a difference, and we need good Christian families that are willing to open their hearts and open their homes and make a difference for hurting, abused, and neglected children.
Definitely, and it's unfortunate that there is such a large number of children who are in need of foster parenting and being adopted. And just to inform the public about how this happens. They want to know, why is that number so large? What happened to these children that they ended up without a mom and dad, without somebody to love them? What are some of the things that you all have seen being in this business, you know, that has happened to these kids?
Well, one of the things that you can always, families have an easier time relating to is we have over 200,000 people in prison in the state of Texas, and most of them have children. And so a lot of those children are, you know, in out-of-home care and forced to live with relatives or forced to live in foster families, and there's just an awful lot of situations, you know, that Child Protective Services is forced to remove kids because of abuse and neglect in families that just aren't prepared to parent their children.
Definitely. It's hard for me to imagine, coming from a large family, for my children, if God forbid something were to happen to me and my husband, they would have a large amount of people to be able to take care of them. But unfortunately, there are some out there who they don't have that same kind of system. So they do end up in this system of being a foster parent or foster child, excuse me, and wanting to be adopted by family who loves them. So it's not always necessarily, you know, something you know, terrible that's happened to them. They just might be in a predicament that's unfortunate.
Well, in today's economy, there's an awful lot of families that have a hard time supporting their children and keeping their children in safe environments. So that's additionally a great challenge for a lot of families out there.
Now, do you see a lot of teen moms?
We do see some teen mothers coming into care, and it is always wonderful if we can find a home that will both house a teen mother and her baby. And that is a great need that we do see, our families willing to help this young mother learn how to be a mother to her baby, and just proper role modeling for that young mother in helping her not to repeat the pattern that she has seen from her parents as well.
Definitely. Now, talking about those who take in these children, because some of them do come from an abusive environment, or, you know, have had a horrible tragedy in their life, or have a specific situation, like, you know, they are a pregnant teen mother who is looking for something special. It takes a special group of people, a special type of person to be able to handle some of these situations. How do you know that a person who comes to you and says, I want to be a foster parent or I want to adopt, how do you know that this person is going to be able to have what it takes?
Well, it is a challenge to be able to parent children that have been abused and neglected. They have special needs. They have special challenges. The training programs that we have for these families are very comprehensive, that really equip these families to be prepared for all of the needs of these children that come into their homes. A lot of the natural parenting skills that a lot of us have aren't very effective with foster kids that have been abused and neglected. So we try and give the parents a very comprehensive training program as they come through, and families have to be prepared to have that disruption in their home of a child that may have special needs and may have special challenges. So the families that come through the process, you know, learn an awful lot about what it takes to parent special needs children.
Definitely. There's I don't want to say complicated, but it's an detailed process. Can you walk us through some of the steps that somebody has to go through if they want to foster, and then also if they want to adopt?
It always starts with a desire and a heart to help children, and we find our families that truly come into the process without wanting to help children are our most successful families. And a lot of people think that I can't be a foster parent or I can't adopt because I'm too old, because I'm a single parent. That's not necessarily true. We have a lot of families who are empty nesters, who've had children who are grown, who have decided to come back into the process to serve a child in need. We've had single parents who've adopted through us, both single mothers, and we've had single fathers adopt through us. We have a lot of families who come to us who might already have several children biologically and want to add to their family through foster and adoption as well. So that's the biggest thing, to never count yourself out that you can't do it, because we like to give families the opportunity that any family can be a great family if they start out with that desire and that heart and commitment to these children.
Definitely. Now, from a legal standpoint, what are the foster parents looking at? Let's start with them. When it comes to the legality of taking a child into their home, what are the processes there?
Well, when a family inquires about foster care and adoption, they need to understand that we're going to run criminal history checks, we're going to run reference checks, we're going to do complete background checks on them. It is a fairly extensive process to make sure that these families are qualified. Additionally, as families go through that process, they have to be aware of, of the risks of having children in their homes and additional children in their homes. So fire inspections and health inspections and all that are part of the process as well. When a family makes a decision to adopt a child, Covenant Kids does not charge that family anything to go through that adoption process if those children are children that come through the Child Protective Services or Department of Family and Protective Services process. They will be responsible for the costs of an attorney and maybe some court costs. Typically those costs are less than $1,000, and sometimes they are reimbursable through the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services as well. But a child that comes through the Department of Family and Protective Services process, typically the state is going to make sure that that child is completely legally free for adoption, and that family will consummate that adoption, and all of those legal papers will be filed, and it'll be consummated as that child becoming a permanent part of their family.
So adopting and fostering can sometimes have some cost to the foster parent or the adoptive parent, but as you said, it can be they can get some help from the state on that.
Yes, oftentimes those costs can be reimbursed through the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and our agency doesn't charge them anything to go through that process.
And that's important to point out, because there's probably people out there who say, I would love to do it, but I really don't have the money to be able to do it right now. But if they have the heart for it, there's help, right?
Older children and larger sibling groups and children with medical needs qualify for what's called subsidy, and that is to help offset the cost of taking in what is considered a special needs child. But sometimes a special needs child could just be a child who's 10 or 11 years old, and what they consider to be an older child in the system. Not many families are stepping up wanting to take teenagers or the larger sibling groups. And we also have a strong need for families to accept African American children as well. And that's one of the things for the subsidy, to help offset some of those costs associated with caring for those children. Whereas a family might say, we would love to take in a sibling group of 4, but we're not sure if we can financially afford to send 4 kids to college. Well, subsidy helps offset some of those expenses, and there's also a wonderful benefit that's a Texas state law right now, where if you've adopted a child through CPS and they receive subsidy, they get free college tuition at any Texas state university.
My goodness, that's wonderful to know. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are just thrilled to hear that.
Yes.
Now, whenever someone is deciding whether or not they want to become a foster parent or adoptive parent, what qualities do they need to look for in their own life to know that they're prepared to do this? I know we talked about some of the challenges, but if somebody's self-examining and going, am I really ready for this? What are some things they need to really look for in themselves?
Well, the first thing is the passion for children. if they have that willingness and that passion to make a difference in the lives of children, then I think that's a good place to start. We can help nurture that passion and help give them the skills to make a difference for those children. You know, the other thing that we look for in families is families have to be stable in their home environment. They need to be financially stable. They need to be prepared for the challenges and the costs of having another child in their home. And then they really need to be willing to persevere. You know, we're looking for families that are really willing to make a long-term commitment to these children. Families that are interested in adopting need to be willing to make a forever commitment to those children. Those children will become a permanent part of their home.
That is one of the things we strive for, in particular in our adoption program, is we work not only with the child but with the entire family, including biological children in the home, that this is a permanent commitment for the child and the family. And we jokingly say we have a no take back policy, but if issues arise, we're going to work with that family to work through those issues, because the last thing these children need is another disappointment from another caregiver.
When it comes to children, biological children that are already in the home, what can parents do to prepare them for an adoptive sibling, or if they're going to foster? Because, I mean, like you said, one is temporary, the other is forever. So, you know, obviously there's going to be two different sets of emotions there. What advice do you give parents?
We tell families it needs to be a family decision. If they're going to make a decision to bring another child into the home, all of the siblings and everyone in the family needs to support that decision. A lot of times, biological children will be very supportive of parents when they go through the process, but once that foster child gets in the home and starts playing with some of their toys, they're less than excited to have them be part of the family. So if you can remind them that they were all part of that decision to bring that individual into the home, that child into the home, then you know, it can kind of help them to persevere through some of the early challenges of having that child in their home. But it does need to be a family decision.
I'm going to assume that there has to be a lot of care afterwards as well, counseling, family counseling, to work out some of these things that happen after the child is in there, because I'm going to guess that at first everyone's excited, this is great, it's new, and then life happens.
The children that come through the Family and Protective Services are all covered under Medicaid health insurance, so they all have available to them counseling services and any services that are needed for that child to help them stabilize in that home. And a lot of times those children do need some extra therapy, and then family therapy is available through a lot of the different agencies and services in the community as well. And sometimes families can use that type of support to help them, you know, deal with those types of challenges. You know, the kids that come into the home can be disruptive, but what we find is that most of our families, the children can be great role models for these children that are coming into the home. Our families, you know, can make a big difference in role modeling good behavior. The children can be a big part of that, and then also what we see is that that our children become very grateful for the lives that they have when they see some of the abuse and neglect that other children have gone through.
Definitely. So before we have to go today, if you had to talk to anybody out there who maybe has thought about it or is just considering it, or it sounds like maybe something they want to look into a little bit more, what would you say to them about fostering or adopting a child?
I would say that in adopting, you are changing these children's lives forever, and you are becoming a missing part of them and providing a stable home and a loving home. We've worked with so many children who have come into homes and have come into their families. I was at court this morning and the girl said, I feel like I'm finally home and this is my family.
That's beautiful. Well, if people have more questions, is there a website that they can visit?
They can contact us at www.covenantkids.org. They can also inquire through the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, and there's lots of private agencies out there that are willing to help these families go through that process.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lund, and Ms. Courtney, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you all for watching Joy in Our Town.